The S&P 500 continuing to creep higher today, closing up 0.24% at 6144. We've been discussing over the last few videos this resistance line just above the 6100 level. We clearly are well above that after today's trading, getting up into this upper dealer cluster zone, which we've also been highlighting as an area of potential consolidation as we approach the 6150 and 6200 level here. The gamma exposure data is showing that the 6200 level continues to grow with more volume pouring in every single day at this level. We continue to see open interest growing at these higher strikes. So the trajectory for the month of February has been very bullish and looks to continue to be bullish. We are in a buy the dip environment. We're above the zero gamma exposure level. And so this is an environment where dips are likely to be bought. That doesn't mean we can't see a 1% to 1.5% retracement on any given day, but it just means that those dips will likely be bought, as we've seen a couple of times already here during the month of February. So in terms of trade opportunities that we're looking for, any dip back down into this 6100 level or around the zero gamma exposure level would be an interesting entry point for long positions, both in the S&P 500 as well as individual stocks. And so we'll be looking for any pullback over the next 2 to 3 trading sessions as we wrap up this February options expiration and head into the March monthly OpEx. Just a quick look at our gamma exposure data graph. We are in positive gamma exposure territory, closing today at 1.6 billion total gamma. That basically means that we are in a very strong buy the dip environment. That combined with our GEX weighted volatility gauge sitting at 18.9, that basically means that only 18.9% of the time has implied volatility been lower over the last year than it is currently today. So both of these factors are pointing to a bullish environment and a buy the dip scenario.
Well, Anthony, we got through the VIX monthly option expiration this morning. The closing price at 8 a.m. when that happened was around 15.5. So that's exactly in the range that gamma positioning had indicated would be likely. Between 15 and 16, we had big negative GEX clusters. I have been surprised that the VIX has not visited closer to 14 yet. I know we reached 1470 or 1477 as the low recently. We did see volume at 20. We saw volume at 25 and even way up here at 45 and 50. So it is still noteworthy that there's option volume at higher strikes on the VIX.
Thanks, Sean. Let's take a look at Bitcoin real quick. Trading above 95,000, still struggling to get back above the 100,000 level. Big psychological marker there at that 100,000. We've been highlighting the support zone that's been building here right between the 94 and 96,000 strikes. We've had a few small bounces in this zone during the month of February. We are still seeing large gamma exposure concentrations at the 110 and the 120,000 strike. These have, though, reduced over the last couple of weeks. They've gotten a lot smaller, and I think that's primarily due to the gamma being reduced, being so far out of the money, on top of less and less new market participants piling in at those strikes. And so we did see some volume here at the 110,000 strike today. However, we're not seeing as much at the 120,000 strike as we were in previous weeks. And so we look to be in a period of strong consolidation. This still looks poised to break to the upside. However, I think we really just need to see a breakout outside of this consolidation zone that we've been in, and that could take a number of days to get some clarity on that.
Yeah, Anthony, going right along with the bullish points that you were making about the S&P earlier, the Dow seems to be looking pretty positive too, and maybe contributing to this view that the market has a pathway to continue marching higher. For DIA, the GEX has been increasing since the earlier part of February. I noticed the upper dealer cluster zone has continued to be pretty steady at the 450 area, really all the way up to 455 and 460. We saw volume at 455 today. When we look at the chart for DIA, earlier when we got to this point, we had mentioned to our viewers and also in Discord that DIA looked like it was a little bit ahead of its skis, maybe ready for a pullback. We had gotten below the whole moving average here. And sure enough, we did see consolidation, but it ended up being more of a sideways consolidation. And you can see what really happened was it just built out a flag. And with these Keltners pushing higher the way that they have, it really creates room where price can now, holding this Keltner support, which it's been right on the line, and holding this middle Keltner channel, we have room to go up to that 450 point and maybe even higher based on what we saw with the GEX picture. So DIA is not really giving much hope for bears yet, from my view.
Thanks, Sean. Next, let's take a look at Nvidia. Nvidia trading just below 140 today, seeing some slight pullback after hitting our upper dealer cluster zone. This 140 strike has been our target for the last couple of weeks, and we finally hit it yesterday, and now seeing a slight retracement. I'd be looking for a retracement further, maybe back into the 135 level. This was a previous near-term support and resistance level. And so if we can get back around into that 135 zone, I think this could make an interesting entry point from a risk-reward perspective for a move back up into this zone between 140 and 150. And we actually had a position in Nvidia, an option strategy buying the February 21st, 135, 140 call debit spreads in our model portfolio. We entered this position on February 12th, so just a week ago, and you can actually see the setup at the time we took the entry. This was on this pullback near into the 130 level. We had the large gamma exposure concentrated at the 140 strike. We had large volume coming in the options market in particular on that day, all between 130 and 140. So we had multiple signals indicating that market participants were positioning for higher prices and ultimately a 140 target. So we exited that position today, locking in over 100% in gains and a really nice quick short-term trade, basically 7 days since February 12th. So really happy with that. And that's a great example of how gamma exposure works and how we use these two components, volume in the options market combined with gamma exposure data, to help us identify high probability setups.
One thing that caught my attention today, Anthony, and we also posted this on X.com, Zillow had two insiders, so the CEO and also the general counsel, they both reduced their positions by pretty close to 10% each. One interesting thing about those sales is that they coincided not just with the price hitting our upper dealer cluster zone, it also marked a retesting of this whole moving average from below and a pretty sharp rejection, but they had pretty good timing. It looked like those sales happened and were filed yesterday. And if we look at a target, if this is going to continue lower, we can take a look at the GEX picture and see where a stopping point might be. I mean, if we look at the Keltners, right around 74 is the lower Keltner channel. But if we go to the GEX picture, we can see that we have a dealer cluster zone at 76. Basically, this coincides with a very large negative GEX cluster at 76. So that's kind of a logical place. If we see some downside from this upper dealer cluster zone, the first stop at 76 might make sense. GEX is positive though, so this isn't a situation where the stock, to me, appears like it's about to embark on a major crash. It's just that we have a pullback starting and they had pretty good timing with their sales. So I'll be looking at 76 to see what happens there.
And remember, if you want access to our gamma exposure data and our option flow analytics tools, as well as the algorithmic trading strategies that we're going to be rolling out here in the coming week, on top of a few proprietary technical indicators, head on over to geeksoffinance.com. You can get access to all of that. We are currently running a special $300 off our yearly portfolio manager tier subscription. Use code WINTER2025 at checkout. We have a few spots remaining, so take advantage of that while you can. Members also get access to our community Discord. We've got a ton of great traders in there sharing their own experience, their own trade setups and strategies. And you can also follow along with our trading strategies in our own portfolio. So check that out when you get a chance. Link in the description below. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.